Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Yeah, usually I've got a guide dog with me, but he's still over in the UK, and I've left him there because people always come up to us saying, "You're gorgeous," and they're always talking about the dog, so. But it's backfired because I'm with Pam, and exactly the same thing happened, so, yeah. So, for those of you who aren't aware, AbilityNet is a UK charity. We're all things technology and disability, and both in the broadest sense possible. So I'm going to be talking about mobile and wearables and robotics and things like that this afternoon. And disability, it's not just disability with a capital D. It's all impairments of all kinds, whether it's complex and very substantial, or whether it's someone who's just sprained their wrist and would like an adjustment on a temporary basis, that sort of thing. So that's who AbilityNet are. If you want to follow me on Twitter, well, AbilityNet is obviously at AbilityNet, and I'm at USA Today, which stands for usability and accessibility, in case you're wondering. So please do follow me on that.
Slide 2 with technology came up.
So if you could put up with JAWS running in the background here. Whenever there's some audio for you guys to listen to, I'll plug it into the main audio output. But in the meantime, if you could, apologize if you could just put up with this lovely lady going. I feel sorry for you guys whose computers just sit on your desk making the odd sort of ping noise. This is a nice lady who can speak to me all the time. So very quickly, I've got very few slides, and the rest of it's demos and videos you'll be pleased to hear. So just to kind of set the scene, I was really, really fortunate that the advent of the PC back in the 80s, when it started to become quite prevalent, quite common, coincided with when I was doing my education, and the fact, stop tweeting, I'll stick it in here. The fact that, it's so adaptable. I mean, all the things, is it on this side? Thanks. I have a habit of looking, and if I'm looking the wrong way, then I look like a complete idiot. So, the brilliant thing is with technology is that it's such a leveler, that there's such an empowering potential that technology has, because every bit is optional. I don't use the screen, I use speech output. Other people might use a massive, 65-inch screen. Other people might use a tiny screen on their wrist. Sometimes the thing doesn't use a screen at all. It might use haptic feedback or voice output, that sort of thing. I use the keyboard quite heavily, but a lot of other people might use touch or voice input, that sort of thing. I don't use the mouse at all. Other people might use a whole range of different alternative pointing devices. And the tower itself, where's the computer these days? Is it built into the screen? Is it halfway across the world? So all of these are completely flexible and optional. And because of the potential for this to be, to cater for everybody's needs, you've got people like Professor Stephen Hawking, who was one of the first people that AbilityNet assessed for his needs. And I don't need to tell you guys about the potential that he has, that has enabled, technology has enabled to shine through, and the contribution that he's made to science, and also to the awareness of the empowering potential of technology is almost unquantifiable. Slide 4, inclusion, power and price. And then the next big revolution was the mobile revolution, which took all the power, all the potential of the PC and put it in people's pockets and made it mobile and made it always available. And one of the key benefits of smart technology is that you've got it with you all the time. And I'm going to show you some apps in a moment where the very fact that it's mobile and the very fact that it's got some additional sensors, like a camera, for example. You've also got GPS, you've got a gyroscope, you've got a light detector, you've got a level indicator. There's so many different sensors, and all of those can be put to good use to help people, not just people with disabilities, because at AbilityNet, we don't tend to talk about accessibility as this thing that you have to consider, that you have to worry about, because if you think about it as a separate thing that will help people with disabilities, for example, then it's a bolt-on activity, and when push comes to shove, it can be dropped off. And feels like additional work, whereas hopefully by the end of the presentation, you'll begin to see that actually it just forces you into a best practice when it comes to inclusive design. So it's for everybody. It helps everybody, not just people like myself who happen to have a particular need. So here we've got, some built-in accessibility features or inclusive features, high contrast, you can have larger text, you've got built-in magnification, you've got voiceover, which I'll show you in a moment. Other smartphones are available. There happens to be an iPhone, but they're more or less successfully implemented on lots of other different devices as well. And I'll do a quick demo of a couple of apps that I find hugely useful. So I've just got a standard phone, and I'll plug in the audio so that you can hear what it sounds like.
Twitterific, 3 minutes ago. Twitterific, unlock, button.
So I like that. Let's just unlock it.
Twitterific notification, Twitterific.
I like the Australian lady, but we've also got
language.
British English.
We'll leave it on him because I think he's a bit slower as well. So
Dropbox. Double tap to open.
So it said Dropbox, double tap to open. I can do a 3-finger triple tap.
Screen curtain on.
So now I've turned on the screen curtain, which is like a privacy thing, but it also doubles your battery life, so that's very handy. I'll turn that off there.
Screen curtain off.
So you can just roam your finger around the screen, and it speaks whatever's under your finger, and then you can double tap, and it will activate it. All the other controls, like sliders, you can do by flicking up and down. I can put 2 fingers on the screen and rotate around to do different settings that are voiceover.
Hand, character, words, headings, vert, navigation.
So there are lots of additional features that kind of kick in when you have voiceover running, so they've really thought about it. It's not just a kind of a tick box exercise adding in accessibility, particularly in iDevices. They've really gone, it's like a Rolls-Royce solution. It's absolutely fantastic. So there are so many things, and I could spend all afternoon going through different apps and talking about how my iPhone, as a case in point, is really transforming for me. I wanted to show you a couple of apps.
Twitterific notification. Twitterific.
I wanted to show you, yes, Twitterific. I wanted to show you a couple of apps that use the camera, because you might be excused for thinking that the camera is perhaps one thing that a blind person
Twitterific notification.
Get least.
Twitterific. Mentioned by @Shane Hudson.
Where is he? Where's Shane? Okay, just hold off for 2 minutes. Thanks. So, I lost what I was going to say now. So the camera, for example. So when it detects that voiceover is running, then it uses face detection. Obviously, you know that it puts a circle or a square or whatever it is around people's faces. It knows if there's 1 or 2. But when voiceover's running, it will say 1 face, small, top left. So you need to get a little bit closer, move the camera up to the left a bit, and it will say 1 face, center, large, and then it will say light or dark. It will say blurry or crisp. So when it says 1 face, center, large, crisp, light, you can take a decent picture, or at least you hope you can take a decent picture, or a half-decent picture. So that is the kind of level of attention. And, whereas you might be thinking accessibility sounds like a lot of hard work, when you start to internalize it into everything you do, then you can start edging towards that kind of Rolls-Royce solution in everything that you do. And you will really begin to see how reap the benefits of how inclusive your products will be. So yes, I'm going to use the camera, because when you've got a pair of eyes of your own that don't work, to have an eye with you that's got some smarts behind it that you can put to good use is really, really beneficial. So
Slide 5, Eiffel Tower.
I've got a picture of the Eiffel Tower here. We were in London the other day, and I pointed it at this odd-looking building, and it told me it was the Gherkin, this app that I'm going to use here.
Goggles. Running.
It's called Goggles.
Goggles. Flashes off. Button.
Okay, and Mark, can I borrow you for a sec? Is that all right? So I'm going to use a volunteer here.
Voiceover off.
I'll turn voiceover off just to sort of spare you. So if you could point it up at the, well, I don't think it matters, landscape or portrait. If you could point it up at the screen, and hopefully it's like as if we were in Gay Paris. Did it say Eiffel Tower? Yeah, okay, great. So if we had this plugged in, it would say Eiffel Tower. So it's recognizing, it's basically using the video. It's doing live video, streaming it to the internet. I'm not done. I'm going to keep, yeah, sorry. Sorry. Okay, brilliant. So it's literally searching the whole of the internet. So you have to have a pretty decent connection. And it can recognize buildings. It can recognize packages, CD covers, it's not a specialist product, it's designed for people primarily who are going into shops. You can pick a package off the shelf or a CD or whatever it is, you can point it at it, it'll tell you what it is, then you can click on it, you can get serving instructions, you can get nutritional information. Because it's got GPS, you can find where it's cheaper to buy around the corner, etc. So, and it can also do OCR, so if you, hopefully, did it say it? Okay. Okay, we missed the 2 out of the, but yeah, if you, cool, great. So basically you can point it at a letter, that's what I use it for, to read my mail, as well as knowing what, cereal packet I've taken out of the cupboard. So it's incredibly powerful, and I don't know how it does it. I don't know how it does real-time searching of images right across the internet. If you could just double-click to bring up the app switcher, and there's one called Word Lens now.
With one finger, or like?
Yeah, just double-click the home button to bring up the switcher, and then go to Word Lens. So the next app I'm going to show isn't actually based on technology, it's actually powered by magic. So it's literally powered by magic. So if you
Text translated into German.
oh, sorry, gonna go back. Hang a sec.
Slide 6.
So what this one does is it looks for any text anywhere. Is it, so what you see through the camera lens what the thing is you're looking at, and it literally just changes the text to the other specified language without, it's on German? So tell me if this is what you see. Pretty much? Yeah? It's a bit blurry because we had to kind of do a screen cap, but this is what we did. We were pointing it at the laptop screen last night, and it translated it into German, and we did a screen cap. That's probably why it's a bit blurry, because it joggles the phone when you do that. So I'll just do one more. Thanks. So this is the event program in English. So if you point it at it, it literally just switches out the words, and it keeps the same. Does it come up? Should I switch it? Okay, so this is what you saw, pretty much. This is, I'm telling you, this is just magic. Okay, thanks a lot. That's brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Great, thanks.
Here you go.
Thanks a lot. So, thank you. So that's called Word Lens, L-E-N-S, and Google just bought it. So I would suspect, I don't know, maybe it's going to be pulled, but it's in both the Android and the iOS App Store. It's free, and as of yesterday, and it said it was going to do it for a while, I don't know how long, all the language packs are free as well. So go and get it. And it's offline as well. It works offline. It doesn't have to use any bandwidth at all. I want to show one last quick one which uses the camera. As I say, I could show 100 different apps. I just wanted to show you the ones that use the camera, just so that you can be completely sure that even something like the camera is super useful for somebody who would find it otherwise difficult to take pictures, for example. Open light detector. So this is like the most basic use of the camera, just to kind of make you sure that, is it going to come up? Oh yeah, okay, great. So I'll plug this in. So there's no, I don't know, maybe it shows on the screen what the camera is looking at, but okay, so I've put my hand over the camera now. It's like the lowest tone. It basically just does a higher tone the more light it sees, which for somebody who's got no light perception at all, it's really useful to know whether you've left the lights on, where the window is for orientation, where the doorway is, even for, I'll just turn that off because it's probably driving you potty. Even if, when the oven has reached temperature, the little light goes off because there's no other way of knowing. So, that's the most basic use, but even that is hugely empowering. Now, 2 of those apps I showed you aren't meant for people with disabilities, but I don't care. The platform is accessible. They are then able to be used by people with disabilities to, in my case, revolutionize my sort of daily life, to be able to use those apps. I was in the town the other day. I'd lost the place of where I was within all the shops. I just pointed Talking Goggles, which was the first one, up at the sort of rank of shops, and it read, Boots, Poundland, that sort of thing, so I could tell where I was. So, it can speak everything back to you. Don't worry, I'll tweet the links to all the apps and videos that I look at in this presentation, so don't worry about, fretting about where they come from. I'll tweet all of those, so rest assured. So I want to go way back to when the iPhone 4 first came out and it used FaceTime. It was the first mobile smartphone to have a kind of a built-in video calling capability. And as soon as it became available, people were utilizing it for their own purposes, in this case, to get around the fact that they had a hearing impairment and they needed to sign. And this was in an Apple store in Texas, way back with the iPhone 4. And this chap saw these two, I think it's ladies, signing to each other, and he was so kind of impressed that he whipped out his phone and had to record them.
They're able to communicate very easily with the iPhone 4. They're able to talk to each other. Now, if that's not awesome, I don't know what is.
So, because it's an inclusive platform, because they were able to utilize that, in this case, mainstream functionality in a cool way that really helped them, they were able to do that.
Beyond tellerrand -Düsseldorf.
Sorry, I'll...
3A blind date with an
Okay. So the next one is, this is a specialist app. It's called iVoice. It's a communication device. We saw Professor Stephen Hawking earlier. His bespoke, his specialist communication hardware costs thousands of pounds, £6,000 or £7,000. Whereas if you've got a smartphone, there are dozens, probably hundreds of equivalent, very, very similar, in some cases more functional, apps to choose from that cost little or nothing. This is one called iVoice. And this person, it happens to be temporarily disabled. She's got laryngitis, and she's using iVoice to speak, and they're on a bit of a blind date. I won't play the whole thing because it gets a bit saucy later on, and because we haven't got enough time. So, but yeah, have a look at the links that I tweet around later if you want to watch the whole
DLC
thing.
media player.
Hey, I'm sorry I was late. Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. Parking was crazy. I haven't been here before, but
That's okay. It's nice to finally meet you.
it's good to meet you. That came out of your iPhone.
Yeah, I have laryngitis. So I will be communicating through my new iVoice application. I programmed all of my responses for the night.
Okay, you mean you're writing it down somehow and it's reading it back to me.
No, all my responses are pre-programmed for tonight.
So you know everything I'm going to say tonight?
Well, I know how I'm going to respond to everything you are going to say tonight.
Okay, then, what's my favorite color?
I don't know what your favorite color is, silly.
But you knew I was going to say, what's my favorite color?
I knew I was going to respond. I don't know what your favorite color is, silly.
Well, it's blue, in case you were wondering.
Oh, my brother's favorite color is blue too.
Okay, hold on. If you knew your brother's favorite color was blue too, then you would know my favorite color is blue when I asked you what's my favorite color moments ago. Because I'm the two. I'm the two in that statement you made.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Alright. I'll just be here waiting to see what happens. And see what fate has in store for us. Cause not like I can fast forward and see what your responses are for the rest of the night. It's not like I have that power or ability. Cause I don't have a magic iPhone that just knows the future.
I'll just pause it there. Okay, so have a look at the rest of that. It's good. So this person happens to have a temporary disability. In the States, there's a term that's relatively commonly used in the disabled community for the able-bodied, which is TABS, standing for temporarily able-bodied, which is quite a morbid thought, really. But you know, it's an aging population. There is a higher frequency of disability or impairment as you get older. But actually, it's actually very true of now that we've got mobile computing, because people who are looking at a small screen on a bright sunny day, if you haven't got decent color contrast or a decent default font size on the app that you're using, it's very difficult to see that. Whereas if that is optimized for someone with a vision impairment, you know, permanent vision impairment, then that would help people who are temporarily visually impaired because of the sunshine. Similarly, if you're trying to use it one-handed because you're pushing a pram or whatever it might be, then you could be temporarily motor impaired. And if the keyboard's easy to use for someone with fine motor control difficulties, it's going to be okay for you using your trying to type one-handed, for example. If you've got 2 minutes in your coffee break and that's, you're really rushed and you want to buy a gift for somebody, if the app or the website you're using is very usable, very easy to use, then that, you'll be able to successfully do that. And for someone with a cognitive difficulty who permanently needs that level of ease of use, then they would be able to do that too. I could go on and on. If you're in a car, you're temporarily visually impaired and motor impaired because you can't interact with your phone. You might choose an app that allows you to do gestures to it to report a traffic accident, for example, and to have it speak back turn-by-turn directions, etc., etc. So you get the picture.
Beyond tellerrand dash. 4 get directions through glass dash.
So the next level of utility is where you take all these smarts and you put it in something like Google Glass, which, again, you might think that I'm not particularly excited about Glass. I've tried it, and it is I'm very excited about it. The potential for someone like myself is very significant, because imagine all those apps that we were doing before. I'd still have to take my phone out of my pocket. I'd have to fire those apps up. But if I could have them running on Glass and the camera is looking wherever I'm looking, it's reading posters that I see. Even in a foreign country, it's translating in real time back into my own language. And instead of it coming up on the heads-up display for me, I would rely on it being spoken back through the little bone-conducting microphone if I'm behind my ear. So I am very excited about that. And I'll give a few examples of why Glass has huge potential for people with a range of different impairments, as well as it being very, very useful for everybody else as well. I appreciate that Glass has kind of a mixed reception at the moment. There's a lot of etiquette around it. You have to put your glass up on the top of your head when you're going to the gents, for example, so that people don't think you're filming other people standing at the urinal. And so there's lots of and there's been some negativity around it. But for me, when I look at it in terms of how empowering or the potential that it has for people with different disabilities, then you can't help but get excited. Sorry. So let's just quickly watch a clip. We won't watch all of this. Just to give you a flavor, this is using the GDK that's been, the Glass Developer Kit that's been released recently, and one of the first apps that used it was called Nav, and here's an example of Nav in practice.
Hey, I'm Sophia. I'm a product manager in Glass. I'm going to show you how to navigate while walking.
Hi, I'm Leslie. I'm on the Glass marketing team, and we use Nav to get to family activities.
Hi, I'm Steve. I'm on the Glass team, and I love to use Glass for navigating while I'm cycling.
Okay, let's get directions. Okay, Glass. Get directions to sushi. Okay, there's Sona Sushi on Castro. Shortest possible walking distance. I like sushi, Tommy. All right, lead the way. Hold on. It's this one. All right. Okay, looks like it's about 2 blocks away. Okay, Glass. Get directions to park. There's a nearby one. It's called Sierra Vista. We're going to go right here, and then at the light, you want to make a left.
Okay, Glass, get directions to Paradise Beach County Park. Off we go.
I'm just muting it, sorry, so that I can talk over it. So you can see up there, I think you can see what they see on the heads up, can't you? So this is like an augmented reality thing. It augments what you're seeing by giving you in the heads up display, directions, confirmation of what you've asked for, turn by turn, that sort of thing. And so this is really, really useful for getting around. And if you imagine somebody with less confidence getting around, perhaps they have a vision impairment where they can't see street signs, but they can see things close up, such as the heads-up display, or people who have confidence, learning difficulty, for example, to be able to interact with a really smart device like this verbally without having to learn menus or, ways of interacting with it that aren't so natural. It's a real godsend. So this sort of augmented reality, taking what, helping people to kind of, in a convenience way, disproportionately helps people that would otherwise struggle in sort of a normal situation like that.
Beyond tellerrand dash.
Oh, sorry.
5 Facebook's deep face dash.
So we can also use or imagine that you could use the camera for something like face recognition. Face recognition used to be relatively inaccurate, hit and miss, but now, for example, Facebook have bought DeepMind, which is a company who do very, scarily accurate face recognition. And you know why? They want to be able to auto-tag people in the images that you upload, etc. But you could imagine that if you applied that sort of technology to something like Google Glass, then to be able to recognize people by their faces, you could import your Facebook picture profile, friends' picture profiles, your Twitter followers' picture profiles, LinkedIn, etc., people from your contacts list, then suddenly Glass is telling you when you come across people. Let's just listen to a first little bit of this anyway.
Facebook's newest technology is going face-to-face with, well, your face. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Dimbert for Buzz60. Facebook developed a program called DeepFace, which researchers say can determine whether two photographed faces are the same person with about 97% accuracy. The site already has facial recognition software that can suggest friends to tag when uploading a photo, but those results aren't nearly as precise. DeepFace uses a complex algorithm that combines 2D and 3D face alignment along with intermittent forms of data. For example, the developers successfully recognized this photo as actor Sylvester Stallone.
I'll just pause it there. So, really, really useful for people who just are bad at remembering people's faces. You could have their name coming up on your heads-up display. For someone like me who can't see people's faces and has difficulty remembering from their voices, etc., then I could have it spoken back to me. You can imagine vulnerable people who are at home. You can get these, you can get 100 different Wi-Fi enabled webcams to put in your, the peephole of your door, or you could just prop your phone up in your front window, and you could have it telling you who's coming to the front door, whether it's someone you know, and then you could let them in, or whether it's someone that you don't know, etc. And you can take that to the next level.
Beyond tellerrand. 6.
With teaching the database people who have a criminal record, for example.
A new company called Hyperlayer is developing an app for Google Glass that will use facial recognition software to identify anybody with a criminal record who happens to walk past you on the street or in a store. Here is a promotional video demonstrating the software in action.
I just pause it there. So, controversial, maybe, but for the vulnerable in society, that will be really very beneficial, and whether again if it's being run on Glass or one of the million other Glass clones that have come out since, or whether it's on your web, your peephole webcam, etc., so that you can be aware. Obviously, the local police would, it'd have to be in cooperation with them. They would have to give you the database of people with a criminal record in your area, etc. But you can see the potential for this sort of technology.
Beyond tellerrand. 7. Facial expression.
Sorry about the voice. And yet another application, again, in fact, this software, I'll just fire it up, is actually better at recognizing people's emotions than we are. So we get it 56% of the time, according to the human testers that they used, compared to 65% of the time for the software. So the software actually does a better job, so that we could probably all benefit from having this running on our smart glasses or whatever it might be, so that we can, get that extra little bit of help with body language or when we're on a blind date or whatever it might be. But for someone like myself who can't tell people's emotions at all, it does micro emotions, by the way, as well. I think they're probably exaggerating them a bit there, but would be really useful. And obviously for people with Asperger's or autism, where people's facial expressions are frankly a complete mystery. You can imagine the power, the potential there. On the heads-up display, it would come up saying angry, annoyed, amused. You could even make it say, amused, tell another one, something like that. You could help that person with their social interactions very significantly.
Beyond tellerrand.
I'll just pull this out so you don't have to be subjected to it. I mentioned that there are lots of clones, and here's an example of one that has arguably far much more potential than Glass. It's got much better resolution. It's full screen augmented reality, so it will layer on top. Well, let's let the chat tell you. Hang on a sec.
Hi, it's David from Laptop Magazine. We're here today at CES 2014 looking at the Meta Pro augmented reality glasses. So these are really very different from what you've seen from Google Glass. They give you a complete immersive binocular experience. They are 720p, 16 times the resolution of Google Glass. They are in front of your face. They're not over on your eyebrow where you have to kind of peer out of your field of view to use them. And the goal is to really have an immersive experience where everything you see kind of comes through the glasses and can be filtered. You can filter out maybe in the future ads. You can change sort of what you see to put augmented reality stuff on top of it, do face recognition and sort of learn more about a person that you're looking at or an object that you're looking at. All the benefits of augmented reality, plus this is hooked up to a Core i5 processor. So you could actually use this to run Windows or Mac OS or Linux.
I'll just pause it there. So obviously pretty goofy, and you know, some work needs to be done on all of these wearable devices so that they're more socially acceptable, but and miniaturized, etc. So he kind of ran through a whole raft of different things that you could use one of these full field of vision, augmented reality for. And you could imagine combining it with things like word lens that we saw earlier, or talking goggles, which will tell you what you're looking at, and you can kind of get more information about it, etc. And like he said, you could even use it to blank out ads so that you're not subjected to ads. It would recognize them and it would fill it in with some tasty, piece of artwork of your choice or something.
Beyond Teller. 9 Pepsi's unbelievable bus shelter.
So this is a Pepsi advert. It's very short. And it's a very extreme and very frivolous application of augmented reality, but it's so much fun that I just wanted to show you. This is an actual bus shelter in London.
I'm telling you, this is how it works, man. There's a little camera right here.
I've never seen what my kids look like, and I'm standing here thinking, I wish I could see what these crazy animations were like. So,
9 Pepsi's unbelievable bus. 10 Android Wear Dash information that moves with you.
So, sorry. So that was a very frivolous application of augmented reality, but you get the idea, and I think we're definitely going to see, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, people were questioning whether wearable technology, augmented reality, that sort of thing, visual reality, would Oculus Rift just be a flash in the pan? Absolutely not. Nobody's asking those sort of questions anymore. Let's move on very quickly. Let me just see what time it is. Okay. To wearables on the wrist variety, and I'm sure you're aware that Android released their Android Wear, which is like their SDK for devices that are to be worn on the wrist. And here's a quick sort of promotional video, but it nonetheless gives you a really good flavor of the sort of uses that they anticipate people putting this SDK to in the very near future. Sorry.
That does that?
Just got a jellyfish warning.
Tri-County?
Let's go to Zuma.
Morning, kids.
be there in 2.
There it is. Okay, Google. What's the Syracuse score?
Folder view list view. Mouse.
Sorry.
Beyond tellerrand-DÜSSELDORF. Desktop. Folder view list view. Folder view list view.
I can't. Sorry.
Android will underline information that moves with you.
I wasn't muting for some reason. Is that muting now? Okay, good. Whew. Lost focus, sorry. I'll just let it carry on playing. So obviously it's very similar functionality to what we've got already in our notifications, etc. But the real step forward here for inclusive design to help people that, who need it beyond convenience, beyond added utility, is the fact that it's there on your wrist all the time. You don't have to remember to bring your smartphone with you. It will remind you about when to take medication or when you've got appointments. There's the additional health tracking elements that perhaps a smartphone, which just sits in your pocket, can't give you. Obviously, pulse. They're talking about even being able to detect blood sugar with skin-mounted sensors, etc. So for people with medical difficulties, to be able to monitor those, to be able to manage your diabetes, etc., would be incredibly powerful. Sorry.
Beyond tellerrand-DÜSSELDORF 18-20 May. Items view multi-select list. 11 Google autonomous car dash day out after.
I'm just conscious of the time, so I'll just skip over. I wanted to show you a video, and I'll put it in the links, but have a look. It's a 4-minute long one, so I'm just going to skip over it, and apologies for that. It's, for the first 3 minutes, it's showing this chap in an autonomous vehicle, picking up his friends, going places, and then at sort of minute 3, he gets out to get his laundry from the dry cleaning, and he gets his white cane, and he takes it to the laundry, so you begin to realize for the first time that he can't see at all. So I'm going to give you a quick blast of a video. Very recently, Google Ventures ventured $258 billion. $258 billion, these venture capitalists invested, that was the word I was looking for, into Uber, who are the private taxi company, as you know, with the iPhone, iPad, Android apps, etc., and to make a fleet of 250,000 autonomous vehicles. And let's have a look at one of those in action.
Proudly presents How to Call an Autonomous Taxi in Berlin.
So, just turn that down a bit. So these have been driving the streets of the States for the last 4 years without a single accident. One was rear-ended once, but this technology is very mature. It uses lasers and radar and cameras. It can scan right down to the resolution of a cigarette end, and it has very clever, very sophisticated algorithms. So, for example, it can tell that if a ball rolls out from behind a car, then it should adjust its driving style in case a child is following that ball, for example. Obviously, it can read street signs and traffic lights and stuff like that. And these are crunching 750 gigs of data a minute to drive. And the insurance companies are going to welcome them because it'll make safer driving. You'll have conclusive evidence of whether it was your fault or somebody else's because it can detect how you drive. Uber are obviously very interested in it because it means that they can dispense with all of their drivers and make more profit. I'm very, very excited about the time when I can spend another 2,000, 5,000 euros on top of the price of our next car to make it, to give me the option of being able to drive it as well. Obviously, it has to be done in an inclusive way. Will the app that I use to call my car from the garage, will that be accessible to me as a voiceover user? When I'm in the car, is it going to speak to me to tell me, give me the progress, just to keep me updated, tell me when I've reached the destination, so that, when we stop, I need to know whether we've actually arrived or whether we're just at the traffic lights, because I do not want to get out of the car in the middle of the traffic lights. So those sort of things.
Beyond tellerrand-DÜSSELDORF 13 e-legs in action paralyzed woman completes London Marathon.
Sorry. I'm very conscious of time, apologies. The London Marathon, the last London Marathon was walked, I was going to say run, but walked by someone with a bionic exoskeleton, and these are maturing very nicely. You're probably aware that the first ball of the World Cup is going to be kicked by someone in a full bionic suit. This is someone who's just got the lower half of their body, but I'll just fire it up.
Bionic suit.mp4.
finish line has long been cleared away and the crowds have dispersed, Claire Lomas is still walking the London Marathon. Paralysed from the waist down after a horse riding accident, she's making her way around the course with the help of a bionic suit.
Crossing the roads make it so much more difficult. I can't feel my legs, so just looking down just to see where my feet are, how much I need to tilt.
I'll just mute it, sorry. So it took her 14 days to go around the 26-mile route. And much to the public's amazement and annoyance, she didn't qualify for a medal because you have to do it within, I think it's 10 hours. But irate finishers sent her lots and lots of medals. I think she got 24 medals sent to her in the end, so that was nice. So he's helping her there. He's not actually controlling the suit. He's just sort of making sure that if she does stumble, then he'll be there to catch her. Suits have become more sophisticated. You know, you can get full body suits. And the next video
Beyond Tiller 14
shows the most sophisticated interface. This is an invasive interface. She's actually got an implant to help her control her robotic arm.
You're watching the most advanced brain-machine interface in action. Kathy Hutchinson is paralysed and unable to speak, but just by thinking, she's able to control the movements of this robotic arm and drink her morning coffee. She's part of a pioneering study run by researchers at Brown University in the US.
I'll just pause it there. So hopefully we'll get to the stage where skin-mounted sensors are as sensitive, as sophisticated as this invasive one in being able to detect what people's, to be able to control external peripheral sort of robotic appendages.
15 cyborg drummer.
And there's no better example of where they have this perfect interface between the human and, in this case, somebody's robotic arm extension. It's a drummer. He's able to do drumming feats that nobody with an able-bodied arm, a full, normal arm, is able to do. A bit like Oscar Pistorius, whose carbon fiber legs had to be adjusted because they were giving him unfair advantage over people with normal legs. I'll just fire this up.
Cyborg.
I'll just put that down a bit so I can talk over. So the interface here is with the neurons in his arm, the nerves, that would otherwise be controlling his fingers. So they've literally hardwired the robotics directly into the nerves that would have controlled the arm anyway. So, this is the optimal interface with regards to sort of cybernetic additions. I'll just close that.
Beyond Tiller and 16 rock dash paper dash.
So, Oscar Pistorius could run faster. This chap could drum better. And here's a very simple robot that just does paper, scissors, stone, or rock, paper, scissors, as they call it here.
The LC Media Player.
And you can see from the opening stats there that it's actually unbeatable because it takes 60 milliseconds for us to decide what the opponent's going to do, but it takes it 20. So it's 100% unbeatable in paper, scissors, stone, this little robot. The first time I tweeted this, about it, people said, okay, so it's superhumanly fast and unbeatable, but it's got rubbish scissors. So there's still a long way to go. So I'm going to finish off with a very quick, a couple more. Because did you know that today is the 40th anniversary of the Rubik's Cube? And if you look on Google's Doodle on their website, there is a fully functioning Rubik's Cube app thingamabob widget. So have a look. But here is people that have made a Rubik's Cube record-breaking, I think it's 3.2 seconds. I absolutely can't believe that, but you guys will have to decide for yourself. Made out of Lego. made out of Lego. Okay, so I had to show you that on the anniversary. So, are you going to go away? I'm trying to make you go away. Lost focus.
Blank.
Sorry.
Beyond tellerrand. 18 Felix Baumgartner Supersonic Free Fall.
Occasionally it loses focus and I can't make it disappear. So, robotics are definitely here to stay. You've probably seen Asimo, the most human-like robot. Have a search for that. I'm just going to finish off by showing you a quick video. This is edited down from the one that I'll send you the link to. I'll just fire it up and talk over it.
DLC Media Player.
So, I mentioned right back at the beginning about choice and the fact that the reason why the PC and now the smartphone is so empowering for such a wide range of people, whether they're permanently disabled or temporarily disabled, is because of the options that they give you, the redundancy, the choice in input and output methodologies you've got. And if they're not done in an inclusive way, then you're going to be limiting the choice of so many of your users, not just your disabled users by any means. Now here we've got Felix Baumgartner. He was going for 2 world records, the highest free fall from 25 miles up in space, right on the edge of space, and the longest free fall as well. But as soon as he jumped, his heads-up display, his visor with lots of fancy heads-up display instrumentation on it, misted up instantly. So he had no instrumentation at all. He could have really done with some redundancy there, because as he was plummeting to Earth, he had no instruments. So what would you do as you're plummeting to Earth, not knowing what your altitude was? Well, he did what we all would have done, which was to pull the cord too sweet. So he got the highest record, nearly 25 miles, so he broke that record, but he didn't break the longest because he pulled his cord much sooner than he'd planned. So if he'd have had redundancy there, if he'd have had backup, maybe haptic feedback at every 1,000 feet, or maybe voice output in his ear to be able to tell him how far he is, you need redundancy to be able to cater for extreme situations. And when we're mobile computing, we're all faced with extreme situations every day, and okay, they might not be life-threatening like they were potentially here, but they'll certainly change people's lives if you do them in a way that gives people choice.
Beyond tellerrand. 19 out.
I'll just put the last slide up, which is, so contact details for AbilityNet. Is that coming up?
AbilityNet. Bullet Consultancy.
So that's who we are. If you want to contact us, thank you very much indeed. You've been a fantastic audience. I'll just sort of finish off. I said at the beginning how lucky I felt that technology came along at the right time for me. And at AbilityNet, we talk to people, lots of people every day who feel exactly the same way. And for me, when you're disabled and you're growing up, you can't assume, or at least I never assumed, that you'd meet somebody and that you'd settle down. But because of the technology, I was lucky enough to, get my education, I was employable. I moved to Warwick, which is a lovely part of the UK. I recommend you go to a nice castle, come and visit us. And because I moved to that part of the world, I happened to meet somebody who did want to marry me. So I've got a lovely wife, I've got 2 gorgeous children. And I think I owe it all to the technology.
Thank you.